Start na ko, Day. Ready na mo? Sige na. So good morning, everyone. I am Vincent Lim, and on behalf of my group mates, we are the Group 3, and now we're going to present the musculoskeletal system and neurologic system. Next slide, please. So here's the description of the structure and function. So for the introduction, musculoskeletal and neurologic assessments check how the brain, nerves, muscles, and bones work together for movement and sensation. The neurological exam looks at the brain, spinal cord, and nerves to check for issues like numbness, weakness, and seizures. The musculoskeletal exam checks bones, muscles, and joints, especially when there's pain, injury, or limited movement. These assessments help diagnose conditions like stroke, nerve damage, or bone and muscle disorders. Together, these assessments help healthcare providers detect and diagnose conditions such as neuromuscular disorders, spinal cord injuries, or degenerative bone diseases. They also guide treatment plans and rehabilitation strategies. Next slide.
Now, for the anatomical structures and physiologic functions, for the musculoskeletal system, the anatomical structures, first the bone. So the adult human body has 206 bones that form a strong structure to support and shape the body. And then for the skeletal muscles, these are the tissues that contract to produce movement. They are attached to the bones via tendons. Next, please. Another one is the joints, where two or more bones meet and they allow movement and flexibility. Next, please. Now for the physiological functions for the musculoskeletal system. So it provides structural support for the body, enables motion through interaction of bones, joints, and muscles, shields vital organs like the skull. Skull protects the brain, rib cage protects the lungs and the heart, and it also stores calcium and phosphorus. And also, bone marrow produces red and white blood cells and the platelets or the hematopoiesis. Next, please. Now, for the neurologic system, the anatomical structures, the central nervous system, so it includes the brain, the spinal cord, processes and interprets sensory data and coordinates response. Next, please. Under the CNS, we have the brain. So the brain is the body's control center that lets a person think, feel, move, and remember. And under the brain, we have the cerebrum. The cerebrum is the largest part of the brain responsible for the higher brain functions like thinking, memory, and movement. So under the cerebrum, we have the frontal lobe that controls thinking, planning, and voluntary movement. The parietal lobe processes the sensory information and spatial awareness. The temporal lobe handles hearing, memory, and language. And the occipital lobe processes visual information. Next, please. Next is the diencephalon. Is a brain region that includes structures like the thalamus and hypothalamus, controlling sensory processing and regulating vital functions. So the thalamus relays sensory information to the brain's cortex. Then the hypothalamus regulates body functions like temperature, hunger, and hormones. Next, please. Then another one is the brainstem. The brainstem consisting of the midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata controls vital functions like breathing, heart rate, and reflexes and connects the brain to the spinal cord. The midbrain controls eye movement, vision, and auditory processing. The pons regulates breathing, communication between brain parts, and sleep. The medulla oblongata controls vital functions like heart rate, breathing, and blood pressure. Next, please. Lastly is the cerebellum, is the part of the brain that coordinate voluntary movements, balance, posture, and fine motor controls, ensuring smooth and accurate physical actions. Next, please. And we also have the spinal cord under the neurologic system. The spinal cord transmits sensory impulses to the brain through ascending tracts, carries motor impulses to muscles and glands via descending tracts, and coordinates simple reflexes independently of the brain. Next, please. And also the neural pathways, which are the sensory impulses travel to the brain through the spinothalamic tract, or it is for the pain, temperature, and touch, and also the posterior columns or for the position, vibration, and fine touch. So these pathways helps the brain process and respond to sensory stimuli, with impulses entering the spinal cord through the dorsal root. Now for the peripheral nervous system, it comprises cranial nerves, spinal nerves, and peripheral nerves transmit signals between the CNS and the rest of the body. So under the peripheral nervous system, we have the cranial nerves. This is the 12 pairs of cranial nerves arises from the brain for the brainstem, transmitting motor or sensory messages. Nurses must remember these nerves when assessing a client to evaluate neurologic function, identify abnormalities, and guide appropriate care. So these are the 12 cranial nerves. First, the olfactory, the smell detection, optic, vision processing, the oculomotor, eye movement, trochlear for eye rotation, trigeminal for facial sensation, abducens for eye abduction, facial for facial expressions, vestibulocochlear for hearing and balance, glossopharyngeal for taste and swallowing, vagus for heart and digestion, accessory for shoulder movement, and hypoglossal for tongue movement. Next are the spinal nerves, the 31 pairs of spinal nerves, 8 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, and 1 coccygeal are named after the vertebrae below each nerve's axis point, facilitating communication between the spinal cord and the body for sensory and motor functions. So under peripheral nervous system, we have the autonomic nervous system. So some peripheral nerves are part of the autonomic nervous system controlling automatic functions. So the autonomic impulses are carried by cranial and spinal nerves, two involuntary muscles, heart, and glands. It includes the sympathetic and parasympathetic system, maintaining homeostasis or the balance. The sympathetic system or the fight and flight increase heart rate, dilates pupils, and reduces gastric secretions. While the sympathetic fibers, some come from the thoracolumbar region from the thoracic 1 to lumbar 2. The parasympathetic system restores normal functions like decreasing heart rate. Now, for the physiological functions for the neurologic system, It detects changes in the internal and external environment, processes and interprets sensory input in the CNS, sends signals from the CNS to the muscles and glands to elicit responses, regulates body processes such as heart rate, breathing, and digestion, and it's also responsible for cognition, memory, emotions, learning, and consciousness. So the musculoskeletal system, in simple terms, it helps the body move and stay upright, while the neurologic system controls how the body thinks and how the body moves. So without the nervous system, the muscles wouldn't know when or how to move, and without the musculoskeletal system, the body wouldn't be able to carry out those movements. Next, please.
So, for our nursing assessment, for the musculoskeletal system, our subjective data would be: are you experiencing any joint or muscle pain? Do you feel stiff, especially in the morning or after sitting for a while? Third is, have you had any injuries or surgeries involving bones and joints? Fourth question would be, do you have difficulty in walking, climbing stairs, or doing everyday tasks? Can you describe the pain? Is it sharp, dull, throbbing, aching, or burning? When did the pain start? Is it constant, or does it come and go? On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate your pain right now? What makes the pain better or worse? Can you describe what kind of movement do you do, rest, what kind of medications do you take, or what what certain weather does the pain occur? For the neurologic system, our subjective data would be: first is to assess the orientation, person, place, time, the sensory changes and weaknesses. So for the person, what is your name? For the place, can you tell me where you are right now? Time, what is today's date? What day of the week it is? Have you noticed any numbness, tingling, burning, or loss of sensation anywhere on your body? Do you experience any unusual sensation like pins and needles or decreased feeling to touch or temperature? Do you feel any weaknesses or difficulty moving any part of your body? Have you noticed any tremors, shaking, or difficulty with coordination?
So for the musculoskeletal system, which is the objective data, is for inspection, is inspect muscles for size, compare both sides of the body, for example, arm, thigh, and calf for equal size. Look for atrophy, which is what we call decrease in size, or hypertrophy, which is increase in size, or asymmetry. Next is we're going to inspect the muscles and tendons for contractures, which is shortening, then look for abnormal shortening or malposition like foot drop. Next is inspect the muscles for tremors. Observe while the client holds arm out in front. Next, please. Next is inspect the muscles for tremors. Observe while the clients hold arms out in front. Then inspect the skeleton for structure, look for any deformities or misalignments. Next is inspect the joints for swelling and look for obvious swelling, deformities, or limited movement. Next, please. Next is for palpation. Firstly is palpate to test muscular strength or muscle strength. Test each major muscle group by applying resistance and asking the client to push or pull against you. Then palpate bones to locate any areas of edema or tenderness. We should check the pain, edema, or any irregularities. Next is palpate joints for tenderness, swelling, and crepitus. Palpate for smoothness of movements and presence of crepitus. Next page, please. Next is for percussion, is tenderness over the bones by gently tapping. We have two types of percussing, which is the indirect and direct. Then if fracture or infection is suspected. Next is auscultation, is to listen for crepitus, which is the grating sounds, sometimes during joint movement. Next, please. For the neurologic system, for the objective data is first for the inspection, is inspect the head and face for symmetry and involuntary movements. Second, inspect the pupils for size, shape, and equality. Next is inspect pupil reaction to light and accommodation, which is the perla. Next is inspect the gait and posture for coordination and balance. Next, please. For the inspection is we're going to inspect body movements for tremors or abnormal involuntary motion, observe speech for clarity, articulation, and appropriateness. Next, inspect the lock, which what we call level of consciousness, which is alert, lethargic, superose, or comatose. Next, please. For palpation is we're going to palpate muscle strength. So ask the client to push or pull against resistance, for example, hand grips and foot pushes. Palpate for muscle tone, which is going to assess for flacidity, spasticity, and rigidity. Next is lightly palpate or test for sensory function, which is light touch with cotton. Next, please. For palpation is we're going to palpate for sharp or dull sensation, for the temperature if abnormal. Next is vibration using tuning fork. Then proprioception, which is the position sense. Next, please. For the percussion is we're going to use a reflex hammer to assess bicep reflex, triceps reflex, patellar reflex, Achilles reflex, plantar reflex, which is what we call the Babinski sign. And for the auscultation, which is the carotid artery, is we're going to listen for roots that may suggest turbulent cerebral blood flow if part of the neurological vascular screening. Next, please.
And for the normal findings of musculoskeletal system, so we have no contractures, no tremors, equal strength on each body side, no deformities, no tenderness or swelling, no crepitation or nodules, joints move smoothly, varies to some degree in accordance with the client's genetic makeup and degree of physical activity. Next, please. And for the abnormal findings, so we have atrophy, a decrease in size, or hypertrophy, an increase in size, asymmetry, and malposition of body part. For example, foot drop, foot flex downward, and also presence of tremor. Next, please. And the grading muscle strength, 0 for 0% of normal strength, complete paralysis. 1, 10% of normal strength, no movement, contraction of muscle is palpable or visible. Grading muscle strength number 2, 25% of normal strength, full muscle movement against gravity with support. And 3, 50% of normal strength, normal movement against gravity. Next, please. Four, 75% of normal strength, normal full movement against gravity and against minimal resistance. And 5, 100% of normal strength, normal full movement against gravity and against full resistance. Next, please. So for abnormal findings is bones misaligned, presence of tenderness or swelling, may indicate fracture, neoplasms, or osteoporosis. One or more swollen joints, presence of tenderness, swelling, crepitation or nodules, limited range of motion in one or more joints. Next, please. For neurologic system, normal findings. Normally, all 5 toes bend downward. This reaction is negative Babinski, has upright posture and steady gait with opposing arm swing, walks unaided, maintaining balance. Negative Romberg may sway slightly but is able to maintain upright posture and foot stance. Next, please. Also, we have maintain stance for at least 5 seconds. Maintains heel-toe walking along a straight line. Able to walk several steps on toes or heels. Next, please. Sir, for the abnormal findings for neurologic system, so we have in an abnormal positive Babinski response, the toes spread outward and the big toe moves upward. Has poor posture and unsteady irregular staggering gait with wide stance, bends legs only from hips, has rigid or no arm movements. Next is positive Romberg, cannot maintain foot stance. Next is if client cannot maintain balance with the moves the feet apart to maintain stance. Next, please. For abnormal findings, if client cannot maintain balance with the eyes shut, client may have sensory ataxia, lack of coordination of the voluntary muscles, assumes a wider foot gait to stay upright, cannot maintain balance on toes and heels, performs with slow, clumsy movements and irregular timing, has difficulty alternating between supination and pronation. Next, please.
So for the nursing diagnosis, for the musculoskeletal system, impaired physical mobility related to decreased muscle strength in joint pain as evidenced by limited strength, range of motion, unsteady gait, and use of assistive devices. For acute pain related to musculoskeletal trauma or inflammation, as evidenced by verbal reports of pain, guarding behavior, and grimacing. For risk for fall related to impaired balance, muscle weakness, and unsteady gait associated with musculoskeletal dysfunction. Next, please. For the neurologic system, impaired verbal communication related to stroke as evidenced by speech and difficulty of expressing needs. For acute confusion related to neurological impairment as evidenced by disorientation to time, place, memory deficits, and altered perceptions or behavior. Risk for seizure related to neurologic injury, epilepsy, or metabolic imbalances. Next slide, please. For the analysis of data for interpretation of findings, first is the document outlines the importance of musculoskeletal and neurological assessments in identifying various conditions. The findings from these assessments, whether the subjective data, which reports the patient, or the objective, which observes signs, are crucial for determining a patient's functional status and determining abnormalities. Normal findings indicates proper functions, while abnormal findings point to potential issues like muscle weakness, joint problems, and neurological deficits or risk of injury. Next slide. For the cues leading to nursing diagnosis for musculoskeletal system, the nursing diagnoses listed are directly derived from the abnormal findings identified during the assessments. For instance, impaired physical mobility, cues include decreased muscle strength, joint pain, limited range of motion, and unsteady gait. For acute pain, cues are reports of pain, guarding behavior, and grimacing. For risk for falls, cues are impaired balance, muscle weakness, and unsteady gait. Next slide. For the neurologic system, impaired verbal communication, cues related to speech difficulties. For acute confusion, cues are disorientation, memory deficits, and altered perception. Next is for the risk for seizures, cues involved for neurologic injury, epilepsy, or metabolic imbalances. Next slide. For priority issues or red flags, based on the diagnosis and potential underlying causes, priority issues and red flags would include first, for the fall risk, impaired balance and muscle weakness can lead to significant injury. For severe pain or mobility limitation, this can significantly impact a patient's quality of life and required management. For neurological deficits, changes in communication, cognition, or the potential for seizures indicate a need for prompt assessment and interventions to prevent further damage. Next slide.
So for our case scenario, we have a patient named Mrs. Alana Mosan, 68 years old, and the chap complained, masakit ang tuhod ko kapag naglalakad, lalo na kapag umaakyat ng hagdan. Next, please. It's a quiet morning at the outpatient clinic with Mrs. Alana Mosan, a 68-year-old retired teacher, comes in with her granddaughter. She complains of progressive pain in her left knee that worsens with movement, especially when climbing stairs or walking for long periods. Next, please. We have the subjective cues. Patient reports left knee pain for the past 8 months, worsening in the last 3 weeks. Describes the pain as dull and aching, worse in the morning and after activity. No recent trauma reported, and she experiences occasional stiffness in the morning that lasts about 15 minutes. She also has difficulty squatting or standing for long. Next, please. The objective cues are analtalgic gait observed, the limping on the left side, and swelling and mild warmth around the left knee. Palpable crepitus during passive range of motion, and limited knee flexion, about 90 degrees with discomfort. Negative Lachman and McMurray test rules out ligament tear. X-ray shows joint space narrowing and osteophyte formation. Next, please. For assessment and diagnosis process, with both subjective cues, chronic pain, stiffness, activity-related discomfort, and objective findings, the swelling, crepitus, the limited range of motion, X-ray changes, the assessment supports a diagnosis of osteoarthritis of the left knee. The nurse's role includes pain assessment using a scale, educating the patient on joint protection, recommending physical therapy, warm compresses, and possible referral to orthopedics for further management. For the evaluation, demonstrated pain relief and functional improvement from conservative measures. She said, mas gumaan po ang pakiramdam ng tuhod ko nung nilagyan ko ng mainit. She showed high motivation and understanding, indicating strong patient engagement. Expressed intent to adhere to the care plan, suggesting a positive prognosis with continued support.
For the case scenario 2, for the neurologic system, patient profile, name Mr. Manny Bakal, 70 years old, chief complaint ng kanan kong braso at bintik simula kaninang umaga. Next, please. It's 8:45 a.m. in the emergency room, and Mr. Manny Batanbakal, a 70-year-old male, is wheeled in by his daughter. She says that her father suddenly complained of weakness on the right side of his body. Earlier that morning, he also had slurred speech for a few minutes, but it seemed to improve by the time they reached the hospital. Next, please. For the subjective cues, the patient reports feeling of numbness and weakness in the right arm and leg. The patient also mentions a mild headache that started at an hour prior to the weakness. There is no history of trauma or fall. For the past medical history of hypertension for 15 years and non-compliant with medicines. Next, please. For the objective use with a blood pressure of 180/98 millimeters of mercury and for the heart rate of 88 beats per minute, it is considered regular, and for the facial asymmetry noted with a slight drooping on the right side. For the motor strain, 3/5 on the right and upper lower extremities, and then 5/5 on the left. It is positive Babinski reflex on the right, and then slurred but coherent speech. And the NIH stroke scale score of 7. And then the doctor adds that her father had difficulty forming words for about 10 minutes. Next, please. For the assessment and diagnosis process, based on the combination of subjective cues, sudden right-sided weakness, slurred speech, headache, and objective finding, facial drooping, motor weakness, hypertension, and neurological deficits, the nurse suspects a cerebrovascular accident, likely an ischemic stroke. Immediate action includes notifying the physician, preparing for a CT scan of the head, monitoring vital signs closely, and then initiating stroke protocol. Next, please. For the evaluation, Mr. Bakal became more cooperative and alert during the neurological assessment. He verbalized understanding when the nurse explained the reason for the CT scan and then the urgency of the process. Physiologically, slight improvement in speech and emotional response indicated early stabilization. Vitals stabilized, initial management, the BP slightly lowered to the 160 to 90 millimeters of mercury after rest and repositioning. Next.
So that sums up our reporting or our presentation for today, and we hope that you have learned something from our presentation. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to message us, or if there's any clarifications based on our reporting. So we thank you guys for your cooperation and for your for lending your ears for our presentation, and we hope to see you next on our next presentations to come. Thank you guys.